everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is a video on fixed blades. I don't have any videos on fixed blades on my channel, because mainly I don't really carry a lot of fixed blades. I only have 3. But I thought this one would be interesting because I wanted to show you what I consider the biggest problem with fixed blades, and that is the sheath. Most sheaths on fixed blades are garbage. Even on expensive fixed blades, they're still not that good. This is an excellent sheath, however. This is an entirely custom sheath by Pawpaw's Knife Shop. You can find it on the web, and I'll put it in the link in the description below. But this is a sheath that was made exactly for this knife. If you can see if I can get it up close enough. Oh, there you go. You can see where there's a little indentation in the kydex for the screws. And so this knife is a Skyline fixed blade. Skyline was one of my favorite knives, and the fixed blade version of the Skyline is simply awesome. It's a really great little user. It came with orange handle scales, which are fine. They're really good. I'd prefer orange over black. But I decided I was going to do a little project, and I started working on it, and I made the handle scales myself. You can see they're kind of off. I didn't take a whole lot of time to do this. The other thing is I should not have done it the way I did. Instead of trying to make the letterboxing even by hand, or by eye, which obviously did not work too well, I should have just used the handle scales as a template. But you live and learn. The wood here is Bocote, which is a nice wood to work with. It's not as tough as desert ironwood, but it's still pretty hard, and it's got a close grain to it. It's definitely a hard wood. The knife works quite well in the hand, even with the little screw up here. It works really well in the hand, but that's basically because Tommy Lucas, the guy that designed the Skyline, gave it a really handy blade shape. One thing that I would note about the handle is because it sort of flares off, it doesn't flare down, that it's not quite as grippy. I used to think that this was the thing that controlled or governed how grippy a knife handle was, but in actuality, your hand really, it's right here. It's this portion right here. It really locks your hand in and makes things work. Let me show you what I think is a really good handle, and then we'll get to that knife's sheath as well. So this is the Becker BK-9, which is a knife designed by Ethan Becker, and he has a series of knives. And the common feature in those knives is what I consider to be one of the best handles ever made. This is a great knife handle. It's round. It's round all the way around. There's no sharp edges. There's no corners. It swells in the middle, as you can see right there. Let me see if I can get a better shot. There you go. Right there. It swells in the middle, so it sort of fills your hand up. And then it has this parrot's beak at the end. And the parrot's beak is really quite good at locking your hand into place. See right there. The little pommel that extends beyond it is good for smashing stuff. I haven't used that a whole lot, but I have used it to lock my hand in. And when you're chopping, you have a lot of momentum at the end. And so it's this part right here that sort of locks your hands into place. That really does all the gripping work in a knife. This gives you control over the blade for precision work. And that's why I think that the way that Tommy designed the handle on the Skyline is quite good, especially for a smaller knife. You get a lot of precision, but there's not a lot to lock your hand in back here. It sort of just flies off the end. And in a folding knife, that's not a big deal, and in a fixed blade this size, it's not a big deal, because mostly I'm just doing like close work or camp tasks or food prep with it. But back to sheaths. So that knife, the Skyline, came with this sheath, and this is a molded kydex sheath, and I believe that Papa used a kydex press for it, and it is superb. As you can see, it really locks in to the handle. It locks the knife into place. There's no rattle, no movement at all, and it has a couple of places where you can pop it. So if you have your hand right there, you can pull it out. It also has an attachment point. Now, the attachment point on this knife, this is not Pawpaw's work. This is just an off-the-shelf piece. It's good. It's okay. It's not my favorite. I'll show you what my favorite is in a minute. But in terms of knife retention, custom kydex sheath is about as good as it's going to go. You can see here that it has a drain hole, so if you get dirt or gunk or water in there, it just drains right out. That is probably, as good a fit of a sheath as you're going to get. It is custom, but it's not that expensive. It was, I forget, something like $40 or $50. Maybe $35, I forget. This is the Freeman Outdoor 451. And this is a knife designed by Jeff Freeman. He used to work for Gerber, now he works on his own. And this is probably the best production sheath I've ever seen. Cold Steel makes really good sheaths too. The sheath on the Recon Scout that I had for review was excellent. It's just a great sheath. But this sheath is not quite as tight fitting as the full custom sheath from Papa, but it's fine. The little snap strap here gives you an extra bit of retention. If you want to walk around and have the knife in the sheath, but have it easy to access, you can just leave it unbuttoned, and it won't necessarily fall out. But if you have it upside down, you could probably get it to slide out relatively easy. But if it's carried like this, it's not going to go anywhere. Now, the thing that I like about this sheath is that it has this device here in the back, and this is a belt lock from American Sports Systems products. And what it does is it opens up like this, and then you put your belt in, and it locks into place. And I can do this one-handed when I have the knife on me. It really does work, and it's quite nice. I was afraid that it wasn't sturdy enough, but it hasn't been a problem. I'm not sure if I would like hike through the Amazon jungle with it, but it does quite well. Overall, the sheath and the knife itself are very, very good. This is my favorite fixed blade I own. Although the Becker's really good too. The Skyline's good too, but this is definitely my favorite one. You have the point here. You get a lot of control. You can kind of choke up, and then it does give you a little bit of swell out here. It sort of comes out at an angle and helps lock your hand in. So it's pretty good. The knife itself is excellent. The knife uses S35 VN blade steel. It has a really nice grind on it. Nothing really super offensive. It just works. It's a good working knife. The bevel is really nice and broad. Man, does this thing get sharp, and it stays sharp. This is probably the best iteration of S35 VN I've seen or used. So that's the high water mark for custom sheaths. When you get into a knife as big as the BK-9, which is a big knife, really big knife, you have some problems. First of all, they're not going to be able to give you a Kydex sheath, a molded Kydex sheath, for the price that they're charging on the BK-9. I mean, this knife is under $100 and it's 9 inches of steel, or more than 9 inches of steel. But what you get is you get this the Condura sheath with a molded insert. And this one is actually quite good for what it is. I had an Ontario RD7, and that thing was basically like a sock. It was terrible. It wouldn't hold the knife in place. If I turned it upside down, even with the retention strap on, it would fall out. It was just a piece of junk. This one is a little better, but I would prefer a Kydex sheath, and in fact, I'll probably have a Kydex sheath made for this knife because it's really good. I've had leather sheaths before, and I've never been really satisfied. One of the issues is I'm kind of a sweaty dude. I'm Italian, so when I'm outside working and I get sweaty, the leather gets all sticky, and I don't like that. And I feel like it doesn't hold up as well. Both the Kydex and this nylon Condura or whatever it is, they both hold up quite well to water. And while I think that this is a very good sheath for what it is, I'd much prefer a Kydex sheath. And Kydex sheaths really make the fixed blade a complete system. And it's kind of strange that people sell fixed blades without Kydex sheaths or without sheaths of any kind. But you know, if you have the chance and you get a knife, pay more attention to the sheath than there is normally paid on the internet, because the sheath ultimately makes the knife really usable. If it doesn't have a sheath that works, the knife is probably not going to work. It's one of the reasons I got rid of the RD7. It was a good knife. The handle wasn't as well done as the Becker handle is. But it chopped well. I liked the thickness of the steel. I liked the shape of the blade. But what I really didn't like was the handle. The handle was, or the sheath was terrible. And it made this knife unsafe to use. So ultimately I got rid of it and I got this knife. And I do like this knife better. I like the shape of the blade. I love Ethan Becker's handles. And the sheath is a substantial step up. If you're going for one of the cheap fabric sheaths, this is probably one of the nicer ones out there. But again, it's not as nice as the full custom. You can get the full custom sheath. It is, in my opinion, totally worth it. It transforms a fixed blade into something that is much more useful, much easier to access, much easier to carry. And ultimately, that's what we need. We need something that's easy to carry and easy to access. So there you go. That's a little primer on fixed blade knives that I have, a little bit on handle scales, and a little bit on